Venus Temple, Vishnu Temple, Wotan's Throne, the Tower of Ra, Holy Grail Temple, Shinemu Altar. We use nothing less than the names of gods in our attempts to describe the world of the Grand Canyon. Its cathedrals and spires have always intrigued those who travel to the rim. From above, the canyon is a world of light and color, pastels intermingling with shadows and sunlight. These formations would be mile-high mountains elsewhere. The rims are separated by so much distance, the bottom so far from the top, that even the clouds can be cradled within the canyon walls. Water is everything in this thirsty land, both creator and sustainer. The canyon itself was born of water. Grain by grain, the walls have yielded to the irresistible power of every rivulet and stream. Each sculpts with a patience measured in millions of years. El Rio Colorado, the Red River. The Havasupai Indians called it Hakatai, meaning fierce roar. The Paiute name was Pahaweep, meaning water deep down in the earth. The Spaniards gave the river various names: Rio del Tizon, Rio de Buena Esperanza, Rio de los Martires. The explorer Francisco Garces was the first to refer regularly to the Rio Colorado. As late as the 1860s, even the most accurate maps of the Southwest carried a large blank space. Somewhere in this region ran the Colorado River, but no one knew where for sure. In 1869, Major John Wesley Powell, a Civil War veteran and self-taught geologist, led the first successful exploration through the entire length of the Grand Canyon. During the long and difficult journey, Powell kept an extensive journal recording comprehensive scientific data along with detailed personal observations. His journal reveals not only the mind of a scientist, but also a poet. The wonders of the Grand Canyon cannot be adequately represented by speech. The resources of art are taxed beyond their powers in attempting to portray its features. The glories and beauties of form, color, and sound unite in the Grand Canyon. It is a region never to be duplicated this side of paradise. Powell and his men had been on the river for nearly 2 months when they entered what we now call the Grand Canyon. He wrote, "This morning the river is swift, and we let down over many small rapids. We glide along mile after mile, past towering monuments, past fern-decked alcoves and mural curves. Hour after hour we glide, our attention arrested by new wonders. Riding down a short distance, a beautiful view is presented. The river turns sharply to the east and seems enclosed by a wall set with 1,000,000 brilliant gems. We find fountains bursting from the rock high overhead. The rocks below the fountains are covered with mosses and ferns and beautiful flowering plants. The water sweeps rapidly in this elbow of river and has cut its way under the rock, excavating a vast half-circular chamber, which, if utilized for a theater, would give seating to 50,000 people. Objection might be raised against it, however, for at high water, the floor is covered with a raging flood. The floods Powell wrote about were stopped when Glen Canyon Dam was constructed in the mid-1960s. The flow of the river is now controlled by energy demands hundreds of miles away. At one time, volumes of water 10 times greater than those of today roared through the canyon in the spring, stripping the banks bare. A thin line of honey mesquite and catclaw acacia mark the old high water level. Now a second and more dense vegetation line reflects lower and more stable flows. The river once carried 500,000 tons of silt through the canyon every day. The silt is now trapped behind the dam, and the water comes from deep in the reservoir and is cold and clear. Side canyons flash flood sporadically, and the river temporarily takes on its old color. Normally, however, the river is Colorado in name only. The dam has created a new environment in and along the river, which has greatly affected plant and animal life. New species have been introduced, others have been eliminated. The changes continue, and the full impact of the dam has yet to be determined. Powell and his men quickly learned to pay close attention to the relationship between the canyon walls and the river. In his journal, he wrote, "We learned to observe closely the texture of the rock. In softer strata, we have a quiet river. In harder, we find rapids and falls. Below us are limestones and hard sandstones. This bodes toil and danger." The rapids of the Colorado are legendary. Granite Falls, Horn Creek, Upset, Sockdolager, Lava Falls, Crystal. All but a few of the canyon's 140 rapids occur where the river falls over boulders washed into the channel by flash floods coming down from the side canyons. The river gains speed and energy as it is forced through the constriction and over the boulders. It bursts into foamy chaos as it falls over rocks close to the surface. At the bottom of the rapids, energy is dissipated in tail waves and upstream currents called eddies. River waves are unique. Unlike the ocean, where the waves roll onto the beach, river waves are stationary. Ocean waves move through the water. River water moves through the waves. I climb up through a break in the marble wall and go back over the rust-colored sandstones. I climb so high that the men and boats are lost in the depths below, and the dashing river is a rippling brook. All about me are interesting geologic records. The book is open, and I read as I run. Tapete sandstone, Bright Angel Shale, Mauve Limestone, Redwall Limestone, Supai Formation, Hermit Shale, Coconino Sandstone, Toraweep Limestone, Kaibab Limestone. The walls tell a story of changing environments, oceans, deserts, river deltas, neatly laid down in layers over a period of 1.25 billion years, and then gently pushed 1.5 miles above present sea level. The river took a mere 8 to 10 million years to do its work. Although geologists think they know how the continents were formed, and they have examined rocks from the moon, there is still a vigorous debate about exactly how the Colorado River cut its present course. Late in the afternoon, I go up a little gulch and discover the ruins of 2 or 3 old houses which were originally of stone laid in mortar. Only the foundations are left. In one room, I find an old mealing stone, deeply worn, as if it had been much used. A great deal of pottery is strewn around, and old trails, which in some places are deeply worn into the rocks. It is ever a source of wonder to us why these ancient people sought such inaccessible places for their homes. The Anasazis, or Ancient Ones, lived in groups of 50 or 60 and grew their crops on deltas formed by large side canyons, storing their crops in granaries built high into the walls of the canyon. They left the canyon 700 years ago for reasons unknown. Their descendants, the modern-day Hopi, have maintained their old ways. They still make pilgrimages to the junction of the main Colorado and the Little Colorado. Here they gather salt from deposits that leach from the sandstone walls, a gift from the canyon which they consider to be sacred. A few miles up the Little Colorado is the Sipapu, the symbolic place where in traditional Hopi religion, human beings and animals emerged from the underworld, and the place through which the dead return. The The Grand Canyon of the Colorado is a canyon composed of many canyons. It is a composite of thousands, of tens of thousands of gorges. Elves Chasm, Thunder River, Havasu, Matkatameba, Deer Creek, Powell called each of these seemingly innumerable gorges a world of beauty unto itself. Several weeks after entering the Grand Canyon, Powell's observations indicated to him that the expedition was about to encounter a significant new geologic feature. We are about to enter the great unknown. We are 3/4 of a mile in the depths of the earth, and the great river shrinks to insignificance. The waves are but puny ripples, and we are but pygmies running up and down the sand, lost among the boulders. We have an unknown distance yet to run, an unknown river to explore. The men talk as cheerfully as ever. Jests are bandied about freely. But to me, the cheer is somber, and the jests are ghastly. With great care and constant watchfulness, we proceed, making about 4 miles this afternoon. Darkness comes, and we camp in a cave. At daybreak, we walk down the bank of the river on a little sandy beach to take a view of a new feature of the canyon. The river enters the schist. Hard rocks have always given us bad river. Soft rocks, smooth water. And a series of rocks harder than any we have experienced sets in. We can see only a little ways into the dark gorge, but it looks threatening. In the deepest part of the grandest canyon is some of the oldest exposed rock on Earth, Vishnu Schist. Uncovered in the very recent geologic past, it was formed some 1.5 billion years before dinosaurs walked the Earth. The canyon is narrower than we've ever before seen it. The water is swifter. There are but few broken rocks in the channel, but the walls are set on either side with pinnacles and crags and sharp, angular buttresses bristling with wind. And wave-polished spires extend far out into the river. About 11 o'clock, we hear a great roar ahead and approach it very cautiously. The sound grows louder as we run, and at last we find ourselves above a long, broken fall with ledges and pinnacles of rock obstructing the river. We land just above and determine that portage cannot be made. We must run the rapid or abandon the river. We strike a glassy wave and ride to its top, down again into the trough, up again on a higher wave and down and up on waves higher and still higher, until we strike one just as it curls back and a breaker rolls over our little boat. The waters reel and roll and boil, and we are scarcely able to determine where we can go. Now the boat is carried to the right, perhaps close to the wall. Again she is shot into the stream, and perhaps is dragged over to the other side, where, caught in the whirlpool, she spins about. We drift on down another 100 yards through breakers. How, we scarcely know. Powell completed his journey, which stands as one of the greatest explorations in the nation's history. His discoveries filled in the last great blank space in the maps of the Southwest and his scientific observations remain the basis for much of our current knowledge of the canyon. But Powell left us something else as well. He left us his sense of wonder. Form and color do not exhaust all the divine qualities of the Grand Canyon. It is the land of music. It is the land of song. Mountains of music swell in the rivers. Hills of music billow in the creeks. And meadows of music murmur in the rills that ripple over the rocks. Altogether, it is a symphony of multitudinous melodies. All this is the music of waters.